Welcome back, group members, to Side Sesh. We hope you're loving these. We got Jess, KBI, K10, and me. My name is Justin. Nice to meet you. All four mental health professionals here, and we're talking about cognitive distortions. I want to know who sees reality of the four of us off the bat.
Not K10, because she's in like conspiracy theory land.
I mean, I am on Mars right now. I'm kidding. No, I would love to go to Mars though. Yeah.
I'm too into sci-fi. I don't know what reality is. It must be you, Jess, even though you're AI.
Jess is ChatGPT.
I engage in a lot of cognitive distortions. So maybe I can see reality outside of my own objective.
Okay. I
like that.
See,
KBI has a thought.
When I think of this, like, I probably think I'm probably the most, because I am such a logical person that, like, I, like, even if I start to go down that route, like, you know, catastrophization or anything, like, I'm like, nope, I'm making that big, no.
Yeah, that's all defensive for you. Behind it, we know you weep into your pillow every night.
She cries in the shower sometimes. Yeah,
that's true.
The shower.
You do. You admit that readily, and there is nothing better than a shower cry. It all just go.
You can't tell.
Best.
Is it water? Is it tears? No one knows.
Black and white or all or nothing thinking. What is this? When do you do it? Tell me.
I always joke, because I teach to medical students and residents, that like in the mental health field, we're really good at like naming things exactly how they sound. Because when I ever talk about black and white or all or nothing thinking, I'm like, it's just that. Like I never know how to describe, but like there's no gray. So like the example I always give to, you know, our residents and medical students, we can all, you know, relate to being in school and taking tests. So it's like, if I don't get an A, I have failed. Like that's not true, but in black and white thinking, if I don't get an A, it's a failure.
So true. And then I think of like all or nothing thinking, and I think like always, never, like all those like big qualifiers that are very extreme too. Like that's kind of the first thing I notice when I think about that.
Yeah. The absolute.
Like like I always fail, or like, you know, I'm never going to be good. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
I always hit the red lights every time I leave my house.
Might be rooted in reality though, depending on traffic and stuff, right?
Which we didn't set a frame for these, but I hope y'all listeners will kind of start to get it. Like noticing your cognitive distortions is key to freeing up your mind, creating more flexibility. But there's a lot of different ones. We're going to try to touch on as many as possible here. But it's funny because when we go through them, you'll think of the ways you do this. And like, it's easy, like, yeah, like for me, it happened a lot in sports. When I didn't get the outcome I wanted, I'd be like, see, I never can make that shot, like ever. And it's like, yo, bro, you just missed it in that moment. Yeah. But I get pulled into that with my own sports performance. What about this is one by many names, jumping to conclusions, mind reading / fortune telling.
I think it's like that idea, like the idea of fortune telling, right? Like, I just know I'm going to fail this. I just know I'm not going to do this well. And you haven't even done it.
Yeah, there's like no evidence.
Yeah. I always think about like predicting the future without it being based in reality. And that's the core for like all of these cognitive distortions. It's not a distortion if it's based in reality.
True.
So, you know, predicting the future, mind reading, I often think of, you know, it's exactly how it sounds, like reading someone's mind. So, you know, I'm talking right now and you all are, I don't know, looking off at something and I'm like, oh my God, they're thinking to themselves, Jess is so boring, or like something that's just, I mean, you might think that, but who knows? But like reading somebody else's mind, not based in actual reality, based on past experiences, current circumstances, etc.
Yeah, and anxiety can pull us to do a lot of these distortions, but that one especially, it's like you're trying to read every cue there possibly is, where it's like, no, Justin just has a super short attention span, and that's why he's looking off.
Well, and we pull back from, the self-confidence episode that we do, like that also can play into those cognitive distortions. Right? Oh, they said no to hanging out with me. They said they're busy, but they're probably not. They probably hate me.
Yeah. It's like once you get into that like interpretation, that's kind of where it gets a little sticky because like you're interpreting something based on your own thoughts, but that's one data point. You don't have all the other evidence. And I always tell people like, look at all the evidence. Have you talked to these people? Have they told you this,
Yeah. Or just to say, I don't know yet. I know people do that often with like, they took the exam. I know I failed. And then those are always my favorite clients where they're like, I failed. I definitely failed. I'm always like, how often do you tell yourself you failed and you not only did not, but you did well? And they're like, the pause, and they're like, yeah, that does happen. Versus the client who tells you they failed and they actually failed. It's just different things going on there.
Yeah.
Personalization.
This one's hard for me.
It's kind of, it's kind of like that idea that anything anybody does is a direct reaction to something like I've done.
Yeah. Like everything.
Why is this hard for you, K10?
Oh.
No, because sometimes I'll just think about things. When you like think about something and right off the bat, you're like, okay, I got a handle on this. But then when you keep thinking about it, you keep coming up with like, it's rumination. You keep coming up with like different conclusions and you just go in circles. So sometimes I'm like, just with my family mostly, like with my mom, she just recently moved and she had trouble with like her electric. Something happened and I'm like, damn, I visited her this weekend. I wonder if like me sleeping in that bed, like I go down that route. I'm like, I'm not responsible for the power outage, like chill, like, but I don't know why. Like sometimes I just go there and it's easy to get myself out now because I just know the skills, but I can't say it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'll feel that with like luck sometimes. I'll be like, well, of course, like when I'm in a bad space, I'll be like, well, it's me. Like, it's not going to work out. It's like, but when I'm in a better space, I'm like, it's an outcome and it has nothing to do with you. There's so many factors that go into this. This one I think is very popularized because it has a little fun rhyming thing to it. The old should statements.
Shitting all over yourself.
That's it. Go to Ellis with that funny phrase. Do y'all should yourself? Do you have to?
I literally have a visceral reaction every time I catch myself saying should, and then I have to like process, and I'm like, wait, is this a circumstance that should actually is appropriate? Because I think we were so trained to be like, don't should on yourself. But yeah, I mean, I definitely do these things, and I think a big thing with should statements is it doesn't allow for flexibility. Like it's that belief that things should be a certain way or you have to do X, Y, or Z. And then when you don't, because life happens, then you just focus on all the things you didn't do rather than the things you have, or you kind of set yourself up for failure.
It's like these rules like you set for yourself or rules you think society has set for you or whatever. And that if you break them, it's kind of like this tumbleweed of, negativity.
Yeah. So I think we get like disconnected from the fact that we're just humans, we're literally just trying to navigate this the best way we know how. And like, there's no right way to do it. But to your point, I think we do have those rules in our head. And then when we don't meet them, it's like, uh-oh, I'm wrong. But really, you're just not giving yourself enough grace too.
Yeah, I can see how the should statements play into mental filter, which is holding the negative, focusing on the negative, ignoring all the other proof that goes against that.
Yep.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I think that this one can be hard because it can fall into, like, toxic positivity at times. But it is, like, I always work with my clients in this one of, like, there are very rare, there are very small amounts of circumstances where it is, like, 100% negative. When a client comes to me and tells me, my entire day was terrible, it was the worst day ever, I'm like... Was it? Or was it like a solid 2 hours that was really crappy and now has overshadowed the entire day?
Yep. Yeah. I also think thinking of like anxiety, depression, or even going back to our like self-confidence and self-esteem episode, if you're struggling with any of those things, it's so easy to fall into focusing on the negative. Like if we're thinking about like self-confidence and you're like, oh my gosh, I like totally messed up that presentation I just gave, like I'm a horrible presenter, going back to what KBI was alluding to, like was it a bad entire day or was it a bad moment? I think a lot of people engage in mental filters, especially those that struggle with like self-perception.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like you see this so much with depression.
Oh yeah.
Like when you, and this is why psychotherapy can be so helpful, because when you slow down and break down someone's day, there's a lot of like neutral events that occur and even some positive ones by their own admission. But it's like the depression just grabs and just like any little thing that happened. Like, well, my boss stood me up for the meeting and again, maybe now I'm getting fired, but like they don't respect me. And it's all these like just magnification of the bad events. But that's what depression does. It plagues our mind and seeing like the world, other people, ourselves in this negative light. It's hard to shake.
It is.
Overgeneralization. What do you think of when you think of cognitive distortion that is overgeneralization?
My understanding of it is when there's like a few things that happen, but you use those very few circumstances to guide your thought about an overall concept of maybe about yourself or the world or other people. So like if, I don't know, you're late to work twice, you might be like, oh my gosh, like I'm just the worst employee ever. I'm always late, when really you were late twice, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think of it exactly what you said, but applying it to like all future of that related event, because we'll get into catastrophization here. So like, you know, say you go on a date and it was like really bad or you didn't connect, and then you overgeneralize like, I'm never gonna find a partner. Or going back to school example, like if you did poorly on a test, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fail this class because I did poorly on this one test. So taking one or two things and applying it to all future of that specific situation.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave the dating example. That's the one I was thinking of too. Like you go on a bad date and you're like, well, I'm going to die alone.
Yeah, it's over.
That was it. If this date or the other date I went on, since those weren't the partner I'm going to do life with forever, then of course it's over for me.
Yeah.
But our mind does this. And this is why pausing, like being a great place like psychotherapy allows us really to break that down. Of like, if your bestie came to you and said they had a bad date and it's over for them, what would what would your interpretation of that be? But it's a lot easier when it's like someone else to be like, oh, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of dating. You gotta date some people.
Yeah. It's a numbers game or something like that. Like you'd make them feel better. But if it's yourself, you're like, oh no, it's me.
It's over. We're done here.
Done.
Close up the Hinge profile and call it a day.
Go to the animal shelter, get 6 cats.
What'd you say?
Once you have a cat, I feel like what's 6 cats? You know what I mean? The cat people out there get it. They get it.
That's a lot of litter boxes. You know what I'm saying? But
Not if they're outside cats.
Oh,
I don't know. I've never owned cats because I'm allergic, but yeah.
How about magnification and minimization?
I just had a reaction.
No, I see this so much, especially in the hospital setting. So like you're magnifying the negative and minimizing the positive. So like in the hospital setting, especially, and I understand high emotions, like working with kids, like parents will like magnify, maybe one elevated test result lab, but minimize, the fact that their kid is, moved out of the ICU into, onto the regular 4, but they're focusing on, well, we have so much farther to go. And it's like just focusing or really amplifying the negative aspects when minimizing the good things.
I've been in a healing journey, especially physical, it's so needed. But it's easy to get caught up in this is still off or this is still wrong.
I have so far to go. Yeah.
Right. But in the reality, that's why you see so many like health professionals who do this day in, day out. They're like, yeah, you're making progress. It's great. Like, or like, I'm thinking like after my brain surgery and stuff like that, like it was a couple months out. And I was just like, I can't even move my head and all these things. They're like, we cut open your skull and shave the bone away from your brain. It's been a solid 50 days.
Yep.
It's going to take a full year, 1 calendar year probably, until you're like, I feel like myself. But it's different when you're living it. Like I remember being like,
absolutely.
This is terrible. Like I'm never going to be the same. And I remember distinctly like a year after being like, oh yeah, it did. It just took some time.
Well, and Justin, just given what you've shared, like after the surgery, were you having the blacking out experiences anymore?
No.
Okay, because when I was thinking about like magnification, minimization, I'm like, but you probably weren't focusing on the fact that you weren't randomly blacked out anymore.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And the thing I would have been like snaking around that and been like, well, I'm not like working out or moving around. But, like, but again, I wasn't even having the speech problems, and that would occur all the time. So you're exactly right. I was totally minimizing the stuff that had already gotten better a few months out. And, yeah. Catastrophizing. Ooh, this one I feel like everyone will mention at some point.
I feel like this is such a common one.
Because I feel like we all do it to a certain extent. Like it crosses your mind, you know?
It was like, I know Jess had talked about in Monday's episode, right? I failed this test, so I'm going to fail out of school. I'm never going to get a job. I'm never going to be able to be an adult. I'm never going to have a wife and then have a kid. And I'm just going to have 12 cats. And
all the cat people are going to be like, why is this podcast?
Hey, I love cats personally.
For the record, I'm just going off the stereotype.
Yeah. No.
But it's like you start here with just like maybe you failed a test, and now you're like, I am gonna be all the way over here in the complete other zone.
Right.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah. Some of my clients will say like, I just got to go there so I can walk myself back, you know? And I'm like, I get it, but you're staying there for quite a bit. Are you paying rent? Like, what are you doing? You know, you're there the whole time. Like, come on. Me and my clients talk like this, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Jess.
No, I was going to say the one that always comes to mind, because I definitely do this, and I have memories of being a child doing it with my dad when I was younger. Now my husband, like, it's like, oh, they're supposed to be home at 7:30, and now it's 7:35, so they must be dead. Like, oh my God.
This is me all the time.
Like,
because
yeah. But and whenever I share that, people are like, oh my God, I do that too. It's like, yeah, I have memories of being a kid, and like my dad traveled a lot for business, and like he was supposed to come back before bedtime, but he wasn't. And then I'm laying in bed going like, oh my gosh, his plane crashed or something. Yes. No, literally. Like I have vivid memories of doing this as a child.
Yeah.
I wonder
worst case scenario.
I wonder if it was because I wonder if that worst case scenario was colored by those TV advertisements that said like it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? I'm sure that like we were just in this state of like wondering where people were, you know. So maybe it had influenced a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, I still do that now. If Ben isn't home, like, so Ben gets home at like 7 a.m. And this man does not have any extracurriculars outside the house. So like there's no reason why he will tell
Ben alone.
He will agree with
Free
me.
Ben.
He will agree with me. So at like the other day, it was like 7, and I was like, where the fuck is this man? Is he dead? And I call him, and he doesn't pick up his phone. And I'm like, where are you? And we don't share location because I don't know why he doesn't share his location with me. Probably because I'm crazy.
Yo.
And he texts me and he goes, hey, I had a union meeting at work. I'll be home in like a half hour. And I go, why didn't you tell me you had a union meeting? Then we wouldn't be having this conversation, me thinking you're dead on 302.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like,
It's true though. I think we all do it, you know?
but then there's me. It's like 10 o'clock at night and I haven't even told him where I am. And he's just do. Like, what is it like to be that relaxed? I don't know.
I would just like to point out that KBI at the beginning of this episode said she is the one that perceives reality most accurately. And then we just had a 10-minute rant about how she thinks her husband's dead every morning.
This is evidence A, yes.
But there is a lot of evidence that points to he is home every day
being
at 7
dead?
o'clock. This man doesn't even do anything else.
Okay.
Poor man. What if he wants stop at the gas station on the ride home? You're like, he's dead. It's over. You know,
because he comes home and goes straight to bed. The only time, but I do know, I'll text him and I'll be like, because I know exactly what time he leaves work, and I'll be like, so I know you're coming home right now. Do you want to stop and pick me up a hash brown from the McDonald's? Thank you. I know you're about 2 minutes from the roundabout, because I also know that it only takes one all too well.
The 10-minute version or the regular version?
Yeah, the 10-minute version for him to get home. So I'm like, I know you left. Where are you?
I love this conversation because I feel like so many of these, like our listeners and us, like you do. Mm-hmm. But when it becomes a problem is when it's like you can't pivot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll find, like, and again, clients I work with too who are really stuck in catastrophizing. They'll say the same thing of like, well, I think of the worst case scenario so I can like plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of energy, and that's always like the standpoint of like, well, how much time are you spending planning for something that's never going to happen? Yeah. Which is different. Like I agreed with everything y'all said. Mm-hmm. I'll have those thoughts like pass through my mind. How often they change my behavior really depends on like, how's my mental health doing? When it's bad, my behavior's changing. But in a given day, like I'll think about that. I'm like, oh, I hope something didn't happen. And it probably will just pass through my mind. Like it won't change my behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think too, like I always go back to like your mind probably wants to go there, but how effective is it? Like if you really look at the data, like is that helping you come up to new conclusions, problem solve, fix the problem, avoid something major? Like you've thought about every possible scenario, including the worst case. So you're literally just, like you said, spending way too much time on something that you don't really know for sure will happen. And then you're priming yourself too of like, it's all you're thinking about.
It's it.
You know, it's all you're thinking about. It's probably feeling like, I don't know, I'd feel overwhelmed if I was thinking about that all the time, you know, worst case.
And I think, I think that there is some good in that, like just to get it out of your system. But like everybody said, like pull it back. Like if anybody's ever seen This Is Us, Randall and his wife do a game called Worst Case Scenario, and they go back and forth naming what they think is the worst case scenario, and they just need to get it out of their system. And then they're like, okay, we're back in reality.
We're good.
There we go. Yeah, that pivot point's so important.
Yep.
Discounting the positive. A little bit different than minimizing, but yeah, I have like one example. Whenever I hear this, I think of the same one, but I didn't know what y'all got.
What is it? Tell me.
Yeah, I want to know your example, Jeff.
It's like, so when somebody like gets a good grade on a test, it's, I got lucky. I guess.
Oh, yep.
It's always, to me, it's like when I hear someone be like, oh yeah, that was luck. It was just like, I'm like, yo, that is discounting the positive. Cause you're like, it's luck. Oh, I just guessed.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't be that I'm smart or did a good job preparing. No, I was lucky.
Yeah. I also think of like, if you're getting feedback and say like, all of it is overwhelmingly positive, and then there's like this one thing that maybe you can work on, or this is your growth area, and you hyper focus on that and just ignore all the positive feedback.
I mean, as content creators, we could make a really fire video, and there's a million comments that are great, and there's that one fucking person, user 6985 with no profile picture, who's like, this sucks, and then you're like losing sleep over it. It's like, actually, that was a fire video, and that person was just having a bad day. That's literally what happened.
Yeah.
Justin's like, oh gosh, I'm thinking of so many videos.
It took me to a space because then it's like you're always pushed and pulled into the like, do I comment back? Do I let this go? You're like, I really want to say something. It's hard.
Block.
I know you've taught me well in the ways of the block.
The amount of people on my block list.
Listen,
great.
It is freeing. As soon as you coached me up in that, I was like, yeah, wow. Person I never knew existed who is dragging me down can go back to not existing in my mind.
I mean, I just blocked someone I knew. So I was like, oh, I know you. You were rude. Bye.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
Boundaries.
How about labeling? What do y'all think of these permanent labels we put on ourselves?
Absolutely. Or sometimes I even think of like labels that going back to like core beliefs that we talked about and messages that we received, like maybe somebody else like labeled us, but then we like internalized that.
Oh yeah.
Like I think of this in family dynamics a lot. Like, oh, this is the smart child. This is the funny child. This is the screw up child. Like whatever. And then you like, I don't know, take that label on and basically that's how you live your life and guide everything you do. So like if you have somebody a family where, you know, someone's labeled as like the screw up, it's going to be like, well, it's because I'm the screw up or I'm not smart or I'm not whatever that falls under that label or we place on ourselves.
Yeah, I think with labeling, I notice that some people have a tendency for that like confirmation bias, right? They're only looking for the evidence to like reinforce that label, which honestly could be helpful, right? If it's a label that is helping you get to certain places and stuff. But when it's negative, I mean, you're just hurting your own feelings. You know, you're not giving yourself a chance to blossom, and maybe the label doesn't actually fit, but.
Yeah, I feel like this plays out so much from early life experiences. Exactly what you said, Jess. Of like, I'm just not an athletic person, or I'm just not that smart. Like, I just can't remember things. It's like, I love sort of untangling that in therapy with clients of like, this is based on what you were told in your experiences, but what may be could be something totally different. Listen, this person really wants in right now.
I hope it's fucking Barb.
It's the dog.
Oh, it's not Barb.
Hi.
You said person.
Yeah, you
Obi
said
came
person.
to join.
We were all so disappointed.
We all thought it was going to be Barb.
We're disappointed.
Obi is so fluffy. It's ridiculous.
Obi's
So cute.
Obi gets lost in the ring lights like so bad.
Oh my God.
Oh, there you go.
Cutie.
This is a sweet baby angel.
Oh my God, we don't deserve dogs.
They're so sweet.
I can't wait to snuggle the crap out of that dog.
Y'all, we got so many surprises coming up for y'all. Episodes that you never ever could even imagine that you watch and listen to here on the pod. It's going to be a wild show. But we're so grateful y'all are here with us. Love doing the side sessions with you. And as always, comment through social media, drop this in someone's group chat who needs it. You're like, hey, you know what? I think you need to learn a little bit about cognitive distortions. But we appreciate you're here. Rate, review, subscribe. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.